Hello everyone and welcome back to another Bricks Aquatics video. As you can see, I'm back in my dorm room here at the University of Tampa. I'm super happy to be back, and in today's video I'm going to be starting a new project that I decided to leave here for when I'm at school, and that is these guys right here. So these are known as Triassic Triops. Now, if you saw in my previous video, I just recently set up a new colony of sea monkeys. And these guys are a little bit similar to the sea monkeys in the sense that you can buy them in these dry packets, and once you surround them with the favorable conditions, which I will get into later, then they will begin to hatch, and there you go with your new colony of Triops. So I'm going to get into what these animals are and pretty much everything about them in just a bit, so be sure to stay tuned. So what are Triops? Well, at first glance, to me at least, they do look like horseshoe crabs, or maybe even an earwig if you look at that tail of theirs, but they're actually not related to either of those animals. Now, similar to sea monkeys, they are crustaceans. And these crustaceans in particular have been roaming the earth as a species for around 350 million years. So that actually makes them older than dinosaurs that have been roaming the earth for around 200 million years, I believe. So they are pretty impressive creatures as far as their ability to remain on this planet. Now, although I've never found them myself, I have read that it is possible to find these guys out in nature. They can be found in very still moving waters, fresh water, of course, and they can also be found on every single continent except for Antarctica. And if you are curious as to what these guys eat, I thought that they would be detritivores, meaning that they eat anything dead or decaying, but when I looked it up, they are actually omnivores, so they can not only eat plant matter, algae matter, and things like that, but they can also eat things like smaller fish, smaller worms, a lot of invertebrates, some insects as well, so I thought that was pretty cool to find out. And one final thing that I'll mention before I go ahead and start opening these guys is basically what I explained in my last video with the sea monkeys, is how do they survive going through a drought like this? This is a completely dry box, there's no water inside of it, but it will hatch live aquatic animals, so how does that work? Well, they are actually pretty similar to sea monkeys in the sense that they can halt or stop embryonic development. So when they go through these periods of drought, which it illustrates on the back of the box here, they go through a process known as diapause, which is exactly what I said. They completely stop embryonic development. And then once they are surrounded, the eggs are surrounded by favorable conditions. So wet conditions, of course, they're surrounded by water, fresh water. That's when they will begin to hatch. So that is exactly what I'll be doing right now. So I have now opened the package of the Triops. It comes with this little container right here. This is the pool that they will be kept in. And then it has a few packets that I will open and review. Alright, so in our first packet that I've opened, we have our instructions right here. We also have a little pipette. We have a thermometer strip, and this little pamphlet that actually tells you a bunch of information on these Triops and a few facts that I actually didn't know. So on the first page right here, it tells us that the eggs are actually deposited deep inside the mud or the substrate. It also says that these animals, the Triops, actually are capable of single parent reproducing, or they're asexual reproducers, while others are sexual reproducers. Just depends on the species you're talking about. And it also says that the ponds that they inhabit are temporary ponds, which I did know. So that's the whole point of that diapause thing. Once those ponds vanish and the water dries out, and then that's when they will endure that diapause process, and then they wait until the next wet season when that pond reappears to hatch. Another pretty interesting fact about these animals is their anatomy, so specifically their eyes. If you take a look at this diagram that they have right here, you notice that they have 3 eyes, but they only have 2 compound eyes that would detect images. And this third eye that you see in the back is known as the ocellus eye. It only detects light versus dark. And one of the last things that I noticed in this packet is this little green note that they have right here. It says that the eggs were lab raised and they were not removed from nature, which of course is great. But that also leads me to believe that they're similar to sea monkeys in the sense that they were probably genetically modified a little bit for the purpose of this brand to probably live longer and grow larger. Although it does say somewhere in here that it depends on the amount of light that they get as well as the food that would determine their size. All right, so this is what our second packet is looking like. This is the adult food right here. We have some limestone right here. These are the Triops eggs in the sand. And then this is the baby food. All right, so I've read through the directions and I'm gonna get started with our first step, and that would be to add our natural spring water right here. So I have this spring water, it's called Zephyrhills or Zephyrhills. I'm not a Floridian, so I really don't know how to pronounce that. Then we also have our limestone that we need to add into the water once the water is in our little hatching tank right here. Okay, so I've successfully added my spring water to the hatching dish, and our next step is to add the limestone right here. All right, so there we go. I've added our limestone into the hatching dish. You can also see I've added the thermometer strip on the side right there. And our next step is to wait 24 hours before I add any of the eggs. But it's looking great. It's looking nice and clear. And I will see you again in 24 hours. Okay, so it is now day 1 officially, meaning that it's been 24 hours since I've set up our hatching dish with the limestone added to it. And now we can finally add our bag of eggs. So we have our Triops eggs in the sand, and I'm going to spread this all throughout the hatching dish. So that's pretty much as far as day 1 goes. Now I will continue to monitor their growth and their progress throughout the next few days. Hopefully they'll begin hatching within 20 hours like it says, but it might take a little bit longer considering the temperature. But yeah, I'll see you guys on day 2. Alright, so it is now day 2, and just as I suspected, not any activity just yet. As you can see, the temperature is still pretty chilly, but once I get the chance tomorrow, I am going to wrap a few towels around the edges of this little hatching dish. Hopefully by doing that, I'll be able to keep it insulated and raise the temperature a few degrees. Now I do have limited resources, so that's why I don't have that lamp that would heat it up, and I also don't have a mini heater like the one that I used in my Sea Monkeys video. So I'm really working with limited resources over here to get the temperature a little bit higher. So with that being said, I will see you on day 3. Hello everyone, so it is now day 3, and thankfully I'm seeing some amazing results in my hatching dish. So here is our hatching dish. Now if I zoom in towards the back, you can get a perfect view of all of our new Triops. And here's another view of them from the other side of the tank. You can see they're all doing great. Also, being that it is day 3 means that it is finally time to start feeding them. So that's what I'm going to do now as well. So the directions state to draw 1/8 of an inch as a diameter for a circle on a card. So I have that right here. And then take your baby food, and then as much baby food as you can fit inside of this little circle right here, that is what we're going to feed them. Now it states we only need to feed them once on day 3, but starting on day 4, we feed them 2 times daily. This is the only long thing that I could have that could possibly scoop out a little bit. So that actually worked pretty well. It's actually a little too much. I think I'll just put that there. I know I'm using a pipette for dry food. It's a little silly, but have to work with what we have. So here's our baby food, and I'm just gonna sprinkle that. Oh, there it goes inside the tank. All right, so today was definitely a success. It's day 3, and now I will see you on day 4. Hopefully they will grow pretty fast and I can start to record their progress as they grow. Hello everyone, so it now is day 4 and our Triops are doing great. It is very late right now, so that's why I'm talking pretty quiet, but I'm going to try and show off their progress. We have a few Triops that are slowly entering those more mature stages in their growth, so I'm going to try my best to get a few clips of that. So yeah. Hello everyone, welcome back. It is now day 5 with our Triops. Therefore, we can start 1, cleaning the tank, and 2, feeding the adult food. Now today I'm not going to clean the tank because it already is pretty late, and it says that you can do it on day 6 too, so I'm going to be doing that tomorrow. But what I will begin today is feeding them the adult food. Now what they want you to do is take those little pellets. So these are the pellets right here, very similar to like fish food that you would buy. And what they want us to do is crush one of these little pellets into a very fine powder, and then we're going to take 1/3 of that powder and then pour it into the tank. So here is our Triops dish. It's looking great for the 5th day. I still think it's pretty clean, but definitely tomorrow I'm going to start to clean it. I'm going to try my best to get those up-close shots of the more mature Triops. I'm going to do some research on their stages as far what you would call each one of them, because there definitely is a name for each type of growth stage, I guess you could say. So I might throw a few pictures into the videos to show you what exactly we're looking at when I show you the progress of their growth. So right here is probably one of the biggest ones that we have in the hatching dish so far. I know they are insanely small, but that is definitely the largest one. Alright, so that's all I have for day 5, and I will see you on day 6. Alright, so it is day 6, and we're starting to see more enter that mature stage where they're just a little bit larger. So everything is going great so far. I don't have a lot of time to film today, so I'm just going to show a few up-close clips of them once again. Welcome back everyone, it is now day 7 of having my Triops. They're still doing great, they are all growing still. The only thing that I do have to say is that they are definitely growing at a slower rate that you may see in other videos, only because the temperature in the tank is slightly lower than it should be. I tried to wrap blankets and like little towels around it, but it didn't really prove a significant enough difference for me to just keep them there. So I decided to just take them out. They are growing, which is the most important thing, just at a slower rate than you would see with warmer tanks. So I'm just going to continue to show their progress for the next few days. I'm not sure if I'm going to hop on every single time like this unless I'm doing something inside of the dish. But yeah. Hello everyone, it is now day 8 of my Triops. They're doing great. They're finally starting to look like their adult form now, just a very tiny size. But today I'm going to be doing a cleaning of the tank. I've already taken out a lot of that food that's been on the bottom of the dish, but I'm just going to be pouring some fresh new spring water inside, and I'll also show you what they're looking like as well. Now keep in mind that I already have a limestone that's somewhere in the bottom of this, but that's just so it can have the same hardness, I would assume, as the dish. And here is what they look like. You can see they're also really fast. I didn't know they would be that jittery, but it's pretty cool to see them bounce around in the water. And once again, just to keep in mind, considering the given temperatures that I have within this dish, they are growing very slow compared to other rates that they would grow at when they were given the optimal temperatures. They're still going to grow, but they're just going to grow at a slower pace. So that's why you might see them in other videos looking much larger at this point in time. And this right here is an amazing glimpse of those 3 eyes. He's moving very fast, so it's hard to keep him in the frame. But those are those 3 eyes, the 2 compound eyes and the 1 ocellus eye, I believe it was called. But with that being said, I will see you on day 9. It is now day 9 of having my Triops. We have about 3 or 4 last standing. Those are the ones that made it to this final stage of growth. And you can see they're getting really, really big now. I'm super happy. They had a huge growth spurt overnight. And it's only gonna be a few more days till they are in their full size. Now at this point, the packet does suggest to add them to a larger tank, but considering that they're still this small, I don't think that's necessary just yet. We are back on day 11 now. Triops are doing great. We have 3 last standing. I finally cleaned the top of it. I was scared to do it before just in case I scooped up some of the newly hatched ones, but that period has long since passed. And yeah, now we're just tracking their growth as adults. So I'll get a few videos of them and then I'll see you tomorrow. And one last cool thing, I noticed that we have molts in the tank, and I completely forgot that these guys would molt. I mean, they are crustaceans, so that would make sense, and I'm trying to focus on it right now. Hello everyone, welcome back. It's day 12 of having my Triops. Today I'm going to try and feed them some of these guys right here. These are freeze-dried bloodworms that I will feed my betta fish, but it does say in the directions that you can possibly use that as an alternative, and I believe it also says that it would help them promote growth actually. So we'll see if that can make any type of difference. It's day 12 and I think I'm just going to film 2 more days so I can get that like 2-week mark out of the way. And then by that, I think I'm just going to finish this video up. There's really not much else to show. They are at their exact form right now. They are in their adult form. The only difference from now is that they would just get bigger. And I would say they're about 50% there as far as their size goes. So I'm just going to get a few clips of them. Maybe if one of them eats the freeze-dried bloodworms, but I don't think that's going to happen right away. And then I'll just show off their size, but yeah. Hello everyone, it is now day 14, and it will be our last day of filming my Triops. So I'm just going to get some final shots of these guys before I wrap up this video. As you can see, they're very, very lively, very active, and I'm going to try and get as many close-up shots as I can. As you can see, they've grown quite large. They're just about the size of a nickel, I would say. And I think they're going to grow even bigger, hopefully. They live to around 20 to 90 days, so I still have quite some time with them, even after I complete this video. I'm continuing to feed them things like these bloodworms right here, as well as the adult food that the package provides for you. Now, something really cool that I noticed the other day, I wasn't able to get it on film, but over here you'll notice I have a little pile of crumbs, and that is the bloodworms that I have. I kind of crush them up so it's nice and easier for them to eat. And now when I sprinkle all of this inside the tank, over time you will notice that they do come to the surface. They swim upside down, so their mouths are gliding on the surface of the water. And then they will actually eat. Of course they'll eat, but they kind of take in the food. I've noticed this larger one especially right there. It grabs it and starts pulling it towards its mouth. And it really does remind you of how a horseshoe crab eats, if you've ever seen that. Now, being that they are large enough, I would like to point out some of the more obvious anatomical structure that you could possibly see. So if we take a look at this one, I'm going to also put a figure on this slide to show you. You'll notice those two little structures that extend from their tail. That is known as the caudal furca. Then if you take a look, you can't really see it too well, but then the telson connects to the trunk, which is that tail larger, thicker structure, I guess you could say. And the main circular portion that you see with their eyes, that connects their legs, that is their carapace. You can also see, I believe it's their antenna. There's not too much research done on these guys. I've noticed that throughout my time caring for them, but I'm almost positive you may slightly see two structures extending from the front underside of their carapace. You could slightly see it there. Those are the antenna. Underneath their carapace, they have many, many little legs that you can see fluttering very slightly. The camera doesn't pick it up too well. And then my favorite part are those adorable little eyes that they have. Remember, they have those two compound eyes with the addition of that ocellus eye that only detects light and dark, which I don't believe is visible to us. If it is, it's much smaller than those two compound eyes. Now, just a few takeaways before I wrap this video up. Number one, I would definitely say if I was to start this project again, I would invest in some type of heat source, whether that be a heater from a fish tank or a light bulb that actually does emit heat. They definitely were very slow in their growth rates. It took a lot of patience, but I was perfectly fine to deal with it. Another thing I would say is that they are a bit tedious, a little bit more than I expected as far as like their feeding goes, how to feed them, when to clean the tank, and things like that. It's not hard by any means, but it was a little bit more than I was expecting. I would say they are pretty sensitive animals, and a slight change in their parameters could probably be fatal for them. So you have to be careful with things like that. But overall, this was an amazing project. I would definitely call it a successful project because we have 3 strong survivors that will continue to grow even more. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you are interested in watching them grow and learning more about them. I have plenty of new things planned for this semester that I'm super excited to share on this channel. But yeah, I guess I will see you guys in the next Bricks Aquatics video.